The invisible injury from narcissistic abuse that no one talks about. If you've ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, you know that feeling, that fog in your brain, the constant second guessing, the sense that you're fundamentally broken. But here's what they don't tell you. One traumatic event can give you PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. But repeated abuse over months or years, that creates something far more damaging, something that changes the actual structure of your brain. And today we're talking about complex PTSD, the invisible injury that narcissistic abuse leaves behind. And I'm going to show you the science that proves you're not crazy, you're not weak, and you're not imagining this. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what's happening in your brain, why you feel the way you do, and most importantly, how healing is actually possible. Hi, my name is Michele Paradise, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel, where I put together evidence-based information coupled with my own personal experiences of narcissistic abuse to help you navigate the most important relationship in your life, which is the one with yourself, so that you stop abandoning yourself. So first, let's get clear on what we're dealing with. CPTSD stands for Complex Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. I know it's a mouthful, and it's also a lot to carry. Regular PTSD typically comes from a single traumatic event, a car accident, a natural disaster, an assault. Your brain experiences one overwhelming moment, and it struggles to process it. But complex PTSD, that's different. CPTSD develops from prolonged, repeated trauma where there's no escape. You feel like you're captive. We're talking about months or years of psychological abuse, emotional manipulation, and chronic stress. I see this with my clients all the time. They stayed for decades in their relationships, men and women, because they didn't know how to get out. They thought they were crazy. They didn't understand what was going on. So here's the key. Narcissistic relationships are a textbook example of the kind of prolonged captivity that causes CPTSD. Think about it. You can't easily leave because financial dependence, shared children, isolation from friends and family, or trauma bonding. You are subjected to constant criticism, gaslighting, love bombing, followed by devaluation, unpredictable rage, and silent treatments. It sounds like fun, doesn't it? Day after day, month after month, sometimes year after year, your nervous system never gets a break, never re-regulates. You're living in a constant state of threat, never knowing when the next explosion will come. This isn't just difficult. This is the exact recipe for complex PTSD. The term was first coined by Dr. Judith Herman in her groundbreaking 1992 book entitled Trauma and Recovery. She recognized that survivors of prolonged trauma, whether from domestic abuse, childhood neglect, or captivity, had a distinct set of symptoms that went beyond the traditional PTSD. And the mental health field is finally catching up. While CPTSD isn't yet in the DSM-5 in the United States, it is recognized in the ICD-11, which is the World Health Organization's diagnostic manual. Researchers and clinicians worldwide now understand that this is real, it's measurable, and it requires specific treatment. So what makes CPTSD different from regular PTSD? This is crucial to understand because the treatment approaches are different too. With PTSD, you typically see what we call a core trauma symptom, which is re-experiencing flashbacks, nightmares, intrusive thoughts about the traumatic event. Maybe avoidance, staying away from reminders of the trauma. Maybe if it was a car accident, you might not get in a car for a while. You may need some help reintegrating into that space. Hypervigilance, being constantly on edge, easily startled, always scanning for danger. Negative changes in thinking and mood. Now, if you have CPTSD, you have all of those symptoms. But on top of that, you also have 3 additional clusters of symptoms that Dr. Herman identified. First, problems with emotional regulation. This means you might have intense emotional reactions that seem out of proportion. You might go from 0 to 100 in a split second, or you might feel completely numb and disconnected. You might engage in self-destructive behaviors just to feel something or to cope with overwhelming emotions. This isn't you being too sensitive. This is your nervous system being completely dysregulated from prolonged trauma. Number 2, negative self-concept. This is that deep, pervasive sense of being damaged, worthless, or fundamentally flawed. It's not just low self-esteem. It's a core belief that you are broken. You might feel chronic shame that you can't shake. You might believe you deserved the abuse. A lot of abused people do. Narcissistic abuse specifically targets your sense of self. So this symptom is almost universal in survivors. 3, difficulties in relationships. You might find it nearly impossible to trust anyone. You might keep people at arm's length, or conversely, become overly dependent on others. You might struggle to feel close to people, even when you want to. You might have a pattern of choosing unhealthy relationships because healthy ones feel foreign or uncomfortable. This was certainly me. I kept choosing the same man over and over again. Dysfunctional, unavailable. He had a different name, a different face, and a different job, but he was the same guy. And I'm happy to say I finally broke that pattern. So here's a key point. These additional symptoms don't come from the trauma itself. They come from being trapped in the environment where you had to adapt to survive because you can't get out. You're married, you have kids, you don't have the money, whatever the reason is. Your brain learned that emotions are dangerous, that you can't trust yourself, and that other people are threats. The world is a dangerous place. These are survival adaptations. They helped you survive an impossible situation. But now they're keeping you stuck. So let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain. Because when I say CPTSD causes brain changes, I don't mean metaphorically. I mean there are literal, measurable, structural changes that researchers can see on MRI scans. And this is important because it means your symptoms aren't all in your head. They're in your brain, but not all in your head. In the dismissive way people sometimes mean, they say, look, this is all in your head, get over it. These are neurological injuries. Let me break down the 3 main areas affected. The first one is the amygdala, okay? In this area, well, sort of up here. It's this sort of almond-shaped cluster of nerves. This is your brain's fear center and threat detection system. Studies consistently show that people with CPTSD have an overactive, enlarged amygdala. It's like a smoke alarm that's been set off so many times that now it goes off when you just turn on the stove. There is no smoke and it's set off. Your amygdala is constantly screaming, danger, 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 even when you're safe. This is why you might have panic attacks in normal situations, or why you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, why you can't relax even when nothing is objectively wrong. Wow, I recognize this so well. Number 2, the hippocampus. This is crucial for memory formation and emotional regulation. Research shows that chronic stress and elevated cortisol, which you definitely had during the abuse, actually shrinks the hippocampus. So the amygdala enlarges, the hippocampus shrinks. It reduces both its size and functionality. This is why you might have memory problems, why you can't remember certain periods of the abuse. That's a big one, because then you kind of forgive them because you can't remember. Why you feel confused about what actually happened. Why you might have trouble learning new things or concentrating. And some people then think they have ADD or ADHD. I'm not saying you don't. Both are possible, but a lot of times it isn't even that. It's just that the hippocampus has shrunk. Your hippocampus has been physically damaged by prolonged stress. Number 3, the prefrontal cortex. This is your executive function center, rational thinking, decision-making, impulse control, planning for the future. MRI studies show reduced activity and even reduced gray matter. So amygdala gets bigger, hippocampus gets smaller, Prefrontal cortex gets smaller. This is why you might have felt frozen during the abuse, unable to make decisions or leave, why you might struggle with simple choices, and why you sometimes do things impulsively that you regret later. Your decision-making center was literally going offline during chronic stress. A landmark study published in the American Journal of Psychiatry found that these brain changes are more pronounced in people who experienced prolonged interpersonal trauma like narcissistic abuse compared to single event trauma, because it doesn't have the long-term effect and they don't shrink and expand, they recover. But here's the hopeful part. We have something called neuroplasticity, and it is real. Your brain can heal. These changes aren't permanent. With the right treatment and time, your brain can literally rewire itself. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's get specific about what CPTSD actually looks like day to day, especially as it shows up for survivors of narcissistic abuse. You might recognize yourself in some or all of these emotional flashbacks. Unlike visual flashbacks where you see images from the past, emotional flashbacks mean you're suddenly overwhelmed with the same feelings you had during the abuse. Shame, terror, worthlessness, panic, they come out of nowhere and feel completely real, even though you're in a safe environment. So you have this, it's as if you're back in that moment and your body goes into all of the same emotions that it did the first time around. Difficulty trusting yourself and others, that's another one. You second guess every decision. You can't trust your own perceptions because you were gaslit for so long. And you definitely can't trust other people because the person who claimed to love you hurt you the most. Feeling fundamentally damaged or broken is another one. This is different from regular low self-esteem. It's a deep conviction that there's something wrong with you at your core, that you're unlovable, that you're too damaged for real relationships. Another one is people-pleasing and fawning. You learned that keeping the narcissist happy was survival. Now you can't stop. You say yes when you mean no. You suppress your own needs. You're terrified of conflict or disappointing anyone. Inability to regulate your emotions is another big one. You might cry at minor things, rage at small inconveniences, or feel nothing at all. Your emotional responses feel out of your control because your nervous system is still stuck in survival mode. Chronic shame is another experience. Not guilt about something you did, but shame about who you are. A pervasive sense of being wrong, bad, or defective. This often comes from internalizing the narcissist's constant criticism. Dissociation is another one. Feeling disconnected from your body, your emotions, or reality. Spacing out frequently, losing time, feeling like you're watching your life from another position, from outside of yourself. This was a protective mechanism during abuse, but it's persisting now. Hypervigilance is another trait. Always scanning for danger, jumping at sudden noises, reading into every tone of voice, every facial expression, looking for signs of anger or disappointment. You're stuck in constant threat detection. Isolation. You might withdraw from people because relationships feel dangerous, or because you're ashamed of what happened, or because the narcissist isolated you and you haven't rebuilt connections. And physical symptoms, chronic fatigue, digestive problems, headaches, muscle tension, autoimmune diseases. Trauma doesn't just live in your mind, it lives in your body. If you're nodding along to most of these, which I am, I want you to hear this. You're not broken. You have an injury, a real diagnosable, treatable injury to your nervous system and brain. And that changes everything. So why does it matter to put a name to this? Why is understanding CPTSD important? Because regular talk therapy often isn't enough for complex PTSD. If you've been to a therapist who had you just talking about your feelings week after week without seeing real change, this might be why. CPTSD requires trauma-specific treatment approaches. Here are the most evidence-based options I can share with you. Havening techniques, something I do. It's a psychosensory therapy that releases delta waves to de-link and decode the emotions from the memory of the traumas and down-regulate, that down-regulates the nervous system. So you get to calm and clarity. Somatic therapy, which is something else I weave into my sessions. This focuses on the trauma stored in your body. Sessions need to be mind-body connected. Techniques like somatic experiencing help release physical tension and dysregulation that talk therapy can't touch. And also some vagus nerve exercises, which are easy, very accessible, and you can take home with you. Internal family systems, which is another technique I use called IFS. This approach recognizes that we have different parts of ourselves. Parts. And trauma creates fragmentation. IFS helps integrate these parts. The key is finding a therapist who specializes in complex trauma and understands narcissistic abuse. Not all therapists do. I do. I'm trained and I've also had personal experiences. This is not a promotion for me. I'm just saying you have to work with somebody who really understands this, because my clients tell me that some therapists they went to don't even believe there is such a thing as narcissism. So you really have to choose well. In fact, some well-meaning therapists can actually re-traumatize you if they don't understand these dynamics. And here's a very realistic timeline. Research shows it typically takes 12 to 18 months minimum to start seeing significant recovery from C-PTSD. Some symptoms can persist for years. This isn't a quick fix, and anyone who promises you it isn't being honest. But healing is possible. With proper treatment, support, and time, people do recover. Your brain can rewire, your nervous system can recalibrate. You can learn to trust yourself again. If you're watching this and recognizing yourself in these symptoms, I want you to know you're not crazy, you're not weak, you're not imagining this. You have a real injury from real trauma. The confusion, the memory problems, the emotional overwhelm, the sense of being broken, these are all normal responses to abnormal circumstances. Science validates your experience. MRI scans prove it. Thousands of research studies document it. Mental health professionals around the world recognize it. And most importantly, you can heal from this. If this video resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more content on narcissistic abuse recovery and trauma healing. Drop a comment below and tell me what symptoms surprised you the most. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, please, please, please share this video with them. Sometimes just knowing there's a name for it, for what you're experiencing, can be the first step toward healing. Thank you very much for coming this far with me today, and please stay safe. See you on the next video.